Hey friends, welcome to the Talkin' Tile podcast, the official podcast of How to Tile Like a Pro, which is blowing up on all social media accounts. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure you do. My name is Frankie Martinez. I am your host, and I'm so glad you joined in on our very first episode. And because this is the first episode, I had no better person in mind to have as a guest on this podcast than the one, the only, aka the Stone Whisperer. Please welcome Ronnie Tompkins.
How you doing? Shiny side out, man.
Shiny side out. That's how you do it, man. I'm telling you. So here we are on the very first podcast of Talkin' Tile, and Ronnie Tompkins is on here, aka the Stone Whisperer. Because if you don't know, now you know. Ronnie Tompkins is who I consider to be one of my greatest mentors in the tile business. I met you, Ronnie, when I was like 19 years old, probably. It was back in the
4 stories of scaffolding, was it?
That's what it was. We were working for Glazer Tile. So the thing is that I met Ronnie when I was about 19 years old. I say we just go in and give him a little intro story. You were temporarily working for Glazer, and I had got introduced to the tile by a buddy of mine, got fired for, you know, I got fired for my first tile job.
Not knowing shit. Yeah.
Do you honestly know why I got fired? I got fired because the installer I was assigned to didn't like that I was getting the hammer to his paddle, thin set paddle.
Wow.
Yeah, it was funny because my buddy told me to. He goes up to the job, he sees his paddle all thick. He's like, "Bro, Frankie, hit it with a hammer." So I'm over there doing what I was told. Anyways, I get fired from the tile from my first tile job. But you know, the funny thing is, I loved it so much that I said, "You know what? I want to do this." So
you got bitten, bro, because creativity.
I did. I loved it. So what I did is I got what's not around anymore today. I got an old phone book. And I called about maybe 15 tile companies in San Diego. And Glazer Tile is the one that picked me up. And I'm glad they did, because that's where I was assigned to help you. Back buttering your tiles. Come on. Making a few cuts. And Ronnie loved my, enthusiasm or skills.
Well, yeah, man. You know, the spirit of working has to be there, right? I mean, yeah. That's what's kind of lost in the modern day. But if you got that, anybody that knows how to get in there and get stuff done recognizes the value right away. So
yeah, very true.
That's where you were jazzed. That's where you made your dough.
Yeah, that's where it was, man. And so I'm glad that you reached out. You said, "Hey, man, if you ever get laid off here or slow, go ahead and give me a call." And I stayed with them for about maybe 6 more months. Then I gave you a call, and I started working with you, learned a lot. And so the awesome thing is, after, we ended up parting ways for a bit because I went to go join the union. I stayed in the union and you veered off. Right. But the reason Ronnie's here isn't just because of that. It's because throughout that whole span of years, I've been doing tile now for 25 years. And throughout this whole span, bro, we've been in contact. I always would call you when I was in over my head, didn't know what to do, didn't know how to, had any tile question. So I just want to thank you, Ron, for being that for me and always being there to encourage me and inspire my desire to excel in tile. And now here we are, both veteran craftsmen, and we're here to talk about it, man. So, and the topic that
39 years, bro, and I've seen a lot of tile putters out there, and some of them aren't worth, ground level entry tips. They just, you can tell they're just dollar signs, and there's no creative passion going on, and they're going to spin wheels. So
that's true. And that's why you're here, man, because not only are you a great friend of mine, but you have the spirit of a craftsman. And that's what we're talking about today. We are talking about the spirit of a craftsman. And me and Ron are still, in the trade, installing and doing a lot of great artistic tile work. And, You know, as we've been in this industry for many years, we see, you know, that the spirit of a craftsman isn't always there, especially even people who've been doing it for a long time, you know.
Right.
So I kind of think like there's different levels of people in the tile industry. You know, there's like the laborer, there's the installer, but the pinnacle, the peak is the craftsman, man. So
different echelons of work, you know. Some people never get past wanting to grout. Some people just want to grout. They don't want the burden of coming out right. They don't want the responsibility of criticism even.
That's true. I think it's the responsibility is a big one, the liability, you know.
Sometimes I think that's why we lose the early people, because they don't even like that criticism about being told, hey man, you're gonna not your way, my way.
Yeah.
I'm tested, not your revolutionary amazing idea today, okay, bro?
That's true. No, that's true, man. It's very true. So before we get into the heart of the spirit of a craftsman, why don't you let everyone know how you got introduced to the tile trade?
Well, you know, it's not down at your local college. It's one just finds himself making $1, and next thing you know, boom, there's something that appeals to your spirit right there. The mechanic in you. As men, there's a lot of mechanical aptitude in most of us, and once you find a passion to focus on, and that's where you end up. And next thing you know, you're paying bills by this passion. Next thing you know, you think, I want to start a business. So I started up in Orange County, quite frankly, in the warehouse, delivering to a 50 crew company that needed cement and tile every week, delivered to these track jobs.
Wow.
So that's how I started.
Wow. So how did you transition from that to actually working in installing?
Well, you get out in the field with this 10-ton truck full of material, and you beg, borrow, and steal how to unload it without wrecking your body and your back, just to get the guys the materials to proceed and knock out these tracks. But then I started meeting the people in the field. I was a big kid from being in the muscle gym all the time. But anyway,
you can't pass over that, Ron. You brought it up. You brought it up. I did it. This guy right here.
I used to love to pound the steel, and next thing you know, I do the Mr. Orange County show, and I won it in 1987.
1987. Mr. Orange County, right here. Come on, give it up.
Novice category, Mr. Orange County. But anyway, so you meet these people in the field. I'm surveying my paycheck. I'm seeing theirs.
I'm
thinking, you know, and plus I'm seeing the creations, you know. From every track, they've got a master. They got your secondaries, your tubs and showers, your laundry floors. All this stuff has to be knocked out. And man, there's a lot of satisfaction in what they were doing, in my opinion. And there's not much satisfaction in unloading bags of cement and thin set and tile.
Yeah, that's true, man. And I think that's what kind of made me fall in love with it too. You know, I love the creative aspect of it. You know, I love that every job was different. You know, and I like that.
Right.
You know,
even in track work, it's the subtleties of pulling off a good job force you to pay attention to those finite details, and that's where it starts breeding this passion in you about pulling it off, and it's looking tight when you're done, you know.
Yeah, it's true. Now I like how you brought up about being a man about it, because I think that's one of the things that, you know, kind of tapped me, you know, on the inside is you know, it's a very, I think it almost validates manhood, the kind of stuff that we do. You know what I mean? Or maybe not validate, but it kind of just it feeds the desire to be strong and to do stuff, to find solutions, and that's what I love. I love when people say that, you know, I don't know if this could be done. I'm like, it can be done. It can be done.
It's never A, B, C, and D easy. It's There's some massaging of all concepts, be it your the gauging of the tile.
Yeah.
It's just and then you learn that you really the vision of where you're terminating points and stuff, and the design aspects and the aesthetics. Hey, I learned that word.
Yeah.
You used to kill me because I used
Yeah.
to say aesthetic.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that back in the day, the aesthetic. The aesthetics.
No, it's hey, thank you, man, for dogging me out.
But yeah, so I mean, I think that's cool, and I think that's what that's what I respected is about you is I saw you. Of course, when I first started, I was just a helper. I was making wall float and thin set and cuts, but I saw all the creativity that you were doing as well, all the artistic work, and I'm like, man, that's amazing. It's amazing. I think like to the normal homeowner or something, they have no idea what goes into a tile installation. And I had no idea either, but when we see all that, man, I just love it. I love the creativity. I love the artistic. I like finding solutions. I like figuring out the best layouts, the best methods. And of course, in our kind of work, we, in high-end custom homes, we work with all sorts of materials. It's
Yep.
You never know what you're going to work with. You never know what the challenge is going to be, what the substrate's going to
Pretty
be.
blessed on that. And quite frankly, I learned from my mentor was Bob Tomaszek out of Phoenix, Arizona, and he was a union guy from Chicago. And so, man, this guy, he was a mathematician. He could work it all out, and I mean, old school stuff.
Yeah.
And he was quite a trip to work for, because if you've ever worked for a workaholic, it's a humbling scenario, man. Hey, dude, what do you mean set up lights? Let's get out of here and go have dinner.
For real. Man.
Yeah, way too often that guy wanted to set up lights and keep working.
Wow. Well, that's the school of the old world craftsman right there. That is the school right there, and that's where you learned all your stuff. And I picked up most of my stuff from there. And I mean, I think one of the things, I don't know, I think in our level, we get so many people that join the trade for, like I said, different reasons. But what do you think separates like a tile guy from a true craftsman?
Well, a lot of that truly is time in the trade, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no. I mean, when I first did my first side job from getting a paycheck from the warehouse stuff, I thought I would take on this kitchen up in Orange County, and I got thrown off that job.
Oh man, yeah.
It was a humbling thing,
Yeah.
and so we all have to start somewhere. But once you see people that are good craftsmen and what they're turning out, and you could also see the cohesive construction of something with some of these craftsmen that you worked right underneath to get into the trade early on. That tells you who you want to pay attention to and who's just here trying to slam bam get out of here and get on the road to the free, go home. That's I respected the guys that come out with a finished piece that was noteworthy. It was sit around and drink a beer and stare at it for a while.
Yep.
That's what you're gonna do when you knock out a good piece, man.
For sure.
Celebrate it,
Yeah, no, it's very impressive. And I think, with me too, I think one of the things that helped me was, unfortunately, since when I was installing, it was hard to stay with a company for so long because eventually they got slow. So I kind of thought it was great where I was able to hop around between different companies, and literally I worked for every type of tile, the custom homes to commercial to track homes. and all
and
these
I did
different
too.
big companies. I mean, when I was in the union, we were doing tons of track homes. And the awesome thing was, like you said, you notice who the best guys were, you know?
Right.
And so those are the guys I would go hang out with, I would talk to. And
Right.
I think I was so blessed to have so many great installers just take me under their wing in a sense, you know, and every single company I worked for, they all taught me something. You know, I remember when I was first doing track homes, gosh, I was the last guy to leave the job. I mean, it was piece price, and I was trying to learn how to float a tub surround, you know. And the guys that float and set a couple of them, and I'm still working on mine. It's like 6 o'clock, the sun's going down. I feel like,
that was the old 4 1/4 and quarter round days, right?
It sure was, man, and it kicked my butt because I did not know how to do it like at the speed they were doing it.
I was doing 3 floated tubs, 3 blanks a day, we called it.
Yeah, for sure.
Stacked and quarter round.
What's that?
Stacked and quarter round, 3 in a day. But you know, your helper would get there early, start the mud turning, and But anyway, it was all part of the big machine. See, when you do the tracks, you realize that it's a huge machine. It's not piddle around and take your time. If you weren't making hay, if you weren't getting in there and turning out products, like you said, it was piece. Why work for piece if you're doing 1 piece a day?
No, it's true, man. And I think it was one of my most valuable experiences is being forced to survive in the piece world, because it, like you said, it taught you how to do it really good but fast, you know. And
right.
So when you combine them both, it really shines.
Yeah, and then that's just, what is that, like just one of the many variables of being a tile installer is track work.
Yeah, and
even in track work, you've got like 5 variations of quality. I mean, up in Orange County, we were doing $1 million houses and tracks.
Wow.
In not Del Mar, but Newport Beach area and stuff up there.
Wow.
Where the money talks, and
yeah.
You still don't get much more.
That's true, man. But man, I don't know. So as a master tile journeyman like yourself, tile artist, should we call it? I like to call us tile artists more than just installers or whatever. If you were to pass the torch to the next generation, what would you want them to know? Like, what would be the key for them to succeed?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny, but really, some of the lost methods, they're trying to reinvent the wheel about every 8, 9, 10 years in our trade with plastics and rubbers and all these products that aren't old school traditional methods. And you need to learn what a float strip is all about, how to set them up, how to square it all up, snap your lines, and do it in mud. We call cement mud.
Yeah.
But if you're not doing your vertical walls in mud, even all the shower units and some floors, some deck mud floors, if you're not doing it in mud, then you really aren't doing it the 100-year methods.
Yeah.
That stuff should be there when we're dead, and just as fine, Now grouts have come a long way, because grouts take a beating in showers. But that's just, it is what it is. Sulfates and soap scum and body funk is going to ruin a grout.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know if there's a school to teach people how to float other than to marry up with a journeyman that's a floater, knows how to mix it. I mean, the old days, we didn't even have pre-mix mortars when we started.
Yep. I remember that. I remember that because you asked for I don't know, you asked for deck mud and I put lime in it, man, and you're like, bro, or something like that. I remember it was at the Bolger's house, and I was like, I made the wrong mix, and I was like so bummed. And you had to throw all that. I remember it vividly, bro. That whole half a wheelbarrow I had to throw in the trash.
Bulger's house. Wow, that's going back.
That was way back in the day, man. But yeah, definitely things have come along. I do like the pre-mix bags now. That's cool.
I don't know. But again, the value of what it's all about, like lathing up paper the right way for your moisture barrier, so it's not compromised, overlapping it and overlapping your wire at the proper stuff. It's all part of doing it right. And I remember when we first started, a lot of people were using the light gauge wire, 175, and I truly believe there was a lot of failures in corners of showers
because of that.
And the industry caught on, and the next call out was 225 wire for a while, but then it went to 2.5, and so you just it does modify the specs somewhat through the years, but if you're not doing it in mud and learning from a tried and true craftsman, you're probably doing some glue. I call mastic glue. And dry green board in a shower. Man, they did that for years before people were lawsuiting themselves to pieces. So.
Have you ever messed with all these newer methods like these Schluter?
The wetty. And
there's these like panels that you just or there's like a waterproofing panel membrane that you just it's not liquid, it's like a sheet that you just put over the whole wall. I see a lot of guys doing it nowadays, but honestly, man, I don't know why. I mean, now I might get in trouble for saying this, but I think that the reason people don't float is because they don't know how to float. You know what I mean?
Well, honestly, though, if you're going to teach anybody the importance of showers, at least, you better understand waterproofing and the super high importance of it. I mean, you got hot mopping is your top shelf method, but sometimes it's not applicable in a high rise or something. So then you got to know your liners, and then if you've got a seat involved with it, so there's a lot of latitude to grow, and a lot of mistakes are out there to be made on anybody that's under 9 years of installs. If you're doing installs less than 9 or 10 years, you're more than likely going to make a mistake if you don't have a mentor to reference and say, dude, any tricky stuff on this situation? I mean, look at the showers with a tub tie-in. If you don't have that all hot mopped well, and then you got your knuckleheads that will take a hot mop and compromise it because they don't know any better.
Yep. It's true, man.
Usually an unlicensed handyman, but
that's true, man. That's very true. Well, I mean, I think one of the things that would really help, I think, looking back on my life and what really helped me become more of a craftsman than just an install guy or something. And I think that's maybe one of the reasons, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the reasons why you and me still are installing is because we love the art of it. We love we love what we do. We love the trade. And I love to create this and get into this, atmosphere. And I love the highest end designers that can come up with the trickiest concepts. And, I love blowing their mind. When a lot of them are like, oh man, so many guys told me this can't be done. I'm like, it can be done. We can do it. It might not be cheap and it might, take a little more time, but it can be done. And I really attribute a lot of that to my desire to excel is just being able to sit under great installers for a long time. You know what I mean? Right. And I see so many guys who, get so excited because they set their first kitchen floor. So they want to go out and get their license and start their own tile business. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's different people. Different people are for different things. Different people get in it more for just, subbing out work as a businessman. But for me, I'm more of the craftsman side, and I'm in it for the craftsmanship. But I know a lot of it came because I waited maybe about 10 years before I even got my license, because I saw the value in learning from so many different people. I mean, literally, there's about 30 great installers that really gave me different tips. Everyone gave me a different tip and give different tricks, and you combine all that, and now you can face it, you know?
That's super advantageous that you were able to get that type of exposure. A lot of people get that one trick pony thing like I did with Bob, but see, Bob was a master.
Yes.
It was with that guy 10 years, and we went all over this country, from Wyoming to Portland to Dallas to Santa Fe, New Mexico, Phoenix. I mean, we did. And what's funny is all those areas definitely have different processes in trying to accomplish the same thing, and some of them you just got to know. You want to tell them, dude, that's pretty chicken shit.
I know it's a trick.
Try to give them a pass, because I think Southern California is kind of a mecca on the old school way of doing tile.
Yeah,
maybe because of the seismic activity we have here, and stuff will crack all up if you've got anything less than sound walls and sound install.
Yeah, no, that's true. Because most of the people I know, like in California, we're still mud floating and doing all that. At least a majority of them,
Majority of the people that care. Yeah. You get a lot of people. Your 2 and 3 year guys, and even in 2 and 3 years, they've maybe done 8 jobs. And they mostly were floors, and all of a sudden they heard about a guy doing a shower, and they say, wow, I'd like to do a shower. But you got to pull the reins on some of these thoroughbreds that want to just run and do their first shower. Well, you also might get your first lawsuit, or you might not get paid even.
That's true. And
it's hard for some of these guys to realize, dude, you really got to spend 7-8 years in the trenches. And then it's hard to get, like me, I got thrown into that kitchen granite job, and when I didn't know crap, but your ego and your pride is saying, I got to pull this off.
Yeah.
Plus, food on the table is telling you got to pull this off.
You can do it, right? You can. Right. That's great.
I think I can. I think I.
Wow, man. Well, that's cool, man. And I think that's great about, like you said, you were lucky enough to work with Bob, who was a master craftsman. But hearing you say that makes me realize that, I don't think time is necessarily the creator of a craftsman, because if you're working with the wrong dude, no matter how long you work with them, if you learn the wrong way.
I've had, as we have to pick up people from time to time to help us out on the load, the workload. I've hired 20-year owning their own company guys.
Wow.
That I had to shake my head what they were proposing and what they were doing in front of me. I'm like, dude, no, man. And that's the good thing about when you're the boss on your own company, even if you hire a guy that claims to be 20-year or whatever.
Yeah.
You got to shut them down if they just don't have the mechanical aptitude to bring this together quality style.
Yeah.
There's a lot of chicken shit moves that can be done, and it's usually by guys that don't know the right move. So left to their own devices, they're going to screw it up. That's why every move should have an understood process.
Yeah.
And there's reasons for that.
So how do you think, like, say there's a young installer who's learning, listening to this podcast, watching us on YouTube, and he really has the desire to learn, what would you say would be the factors for him to know if he's working and learning the right way or not? Because like your old saying goes, he's the best. Just ask him.
Right.
I mean, everyone thinks they know the perfect way, but in all honesty, like some of the guy, like you said, I mean, I think the guy I fired the fastest told me he was a 20-year guy. He told me he was a 20-year guy. I was running this job. We had like almost 20 guys working on this project. I showed him what to do. Simple granite bathroom floor. I go out there. I go run the other guys, do other stuff like that, get everything. I come back to check on him like a couple hours later. He has 2 tiles set, and he's still trying to level them. I'm like, dude, first of all, I'm just pissed that you lied to me and told me you're a 20-year guy. Because if you're a 20-year guy, you would have this floor done. You would not be like 2 tiles in. So,
well, you know, a lot of these guys will say 20 years and they've done 4 jobs.
Yeah. Which is your other saying, like, yeah, I've been doing tile for 20 years. I thought I'd never finish that shower.
Right. Yeah, right. Dude, you're stealing all my lines.
I know. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I'm stealing you. We worked together too long.
And the other problem with up and comers are like, let's say, I don't know, it's kind of such a unicorn nowadays for someone to want to be a craftsman.
True.
But if they understood that there's truly a necessity, this do-it-yourselfer YouTube world is really doing a lot of damage to the value, the overall value of the tile industry. It suffers when these guys jack jobs up and they get a bad review. I hate tile. Where's this Caesar stone or Corian stone or quartz? Let's put that in instead of tile. Well, it's because you had a meatball that cost you to tear out what he all screwed up because he lied to you, basically. But anyway, see, you got your YouTube, and all these people are trying to learn how to do tile off of that. And I'll tell you, man, I could see 75% of the videos that you could watch on YouTube. Really, these guys aren't good mechanics.
Yeah.
They're just braille, feeling their way through this.
Well, yeah, because, you know, there's no certification to make a YouTube video on how to do tile. You know, you just anybody could do it. And
that's the problem. And I can paint your car, but you ain't going to want to pay me for it.
Yeah. And that's what we're talking about. That's why I'm glad you're on here, and you know, because we're talking about the spirit of a craftsman. That's what really sets apart great tile guys. And I don't know, like if you were a young installer listening to this podcast and you really value the trade and fall in love with the way me and Ron did, then I mean, you got to really, you know, hopefully you're learning the right way, and hopefully you could run across, because there are some great, you know, YouTube channels too, you know, like How to Tile Like a Pro, you know, my channel, and other channels that are doing things right. But you know, I just think it's important for you know, for you to really value. I think okay, to kind of sum it down, I think the solution would be to work with different companies, you know, and kind of see how different people do things, you know.
You're absolutely right, because, you know, I've been through my commercial world, you know, tenant improvements in malls, all that stuff for years before I kind of got my niche carved out, where I did the last 25 years, just high-end custom homes.
Yeah.
But it's the deal with, I think a lot of men, I think it's DNA level, we are mechanics, man. We want to build crap, you know.
And find solutions, man. We're wired to solve problems. We're wired to find solutions.
And man, when you start getting the rough materials in your hand as the foundational build of, you know, first you got to envision the shower, which that develops, but you still got to kind of picture what you got to do with the paper, the plastic first, if it's going to be a enclosure, and the paper, and you start building that, and then you realize, okay, then the mortar has to be 1/2 inch or 5/8 thick, and learn to float on the wire, and it all becomes a satisfying process eventually that you're quite proud of, actually, man, because you're not going to, what you can get besides doing it right is a beautiful looking shower that's just going to leak or look like
Yeah.
crap in 3 or 4 years. So
Yeah.
that's the problem in the industry is making sure you're doing it the right way. And when you realize that in your own heart that, man, this is the right way to do this,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
that chicken shit bucket of
Yeah. Yeah.
glue
And
and
yeah, good
one.
point, because the right way isn't always the easy way.
Oh, it's not going to
You
be
know,
that.
so if you do you want to do it the right way, do you want an easy way? And everyone could do things, I mean, you can make things work, but I do value that, you know, I mean, simply this, I insist on floating every shower I install. I insist. I mean, once in a while, if you twist my arm enough, we'll put up some kind of backer board or whatever if it's a certain scenario. But to me, it just makes the job easier. It's
Right. Well, and with the advent of the large module tile, I feel that there is a place for this. I'm not a DIN shield fan, but
yeah,
hardy backer, half
yeah,
inch,
yeah,
I would endorse that in rare scenarios. But
yeah,
I truly think it's not much more than a B level
yeah.
installation.
True.
It's maybe a 25-year install, but you
Yeah,
do everything in mortar and mud, the right gauge wire, wrap your walls correctly with wire and all that. Well, you're looking at a 75-year job, easy.
yeah. Easy. Yeah, a right tile job should last a lifetime. Right.
Right. Right. As
Sweet.
long as, and then a lot of people we're getting off on the wrong tangent, but they love marble, they love stone in their shower
Ah,
floors. It's like,
yeah,
no, man, you really want to
yeah,
do something
yeah,
non-vitreous, no
yeah.
moisture gather.
Yep. Well, most of my work now, they're veering from stone, and especially in the wet areas, But there's occasional few, but
Porcelain has come so far.
yeah,
You really should tell. I try to steer people to do total porcelain everywhere,
yeah,
floors and everything, because you can get faux looking stone if you need it. But yeah, so I would tell people you really need to, if you have a passion for building and you find a niche in tile, you really need to seek out the old school technician
yeah,
that is doing stuff that they were doing 70 years ago.
yeah,
Paper wire, cement, mortar.
yeah,
I mean, that was before they had thin sets, quite
yeah.
frankly,
True.
where they used
Yep.
to soak the tiles in big barrels of
Yeah.
water
Put the
just so that
cement slurry on there, Portland cement slurry, and
they
beat
could
it in there with
bite.
a beating block.
Right. They used to use anyway.
Yeah.
That's all the old
That's
school stuff that's gone. But no, just don't get dollar signs in your eyes if you're a
yeah.
beginner, because if you want to be regarded and be noted as a true top shelf craftsman, you're going to have to do the correct processes.
Yeah.
And if you don't learn them, you're just going to keep doing the same down and dirty fast effort. Everybody likes to go fast. That's
Yeah.
part of the game.
Yeah.
You try to make hay while you can, because the
Yeah.
detail's going to kick your butt.
Yeah. Yeah. But as we think, as a craftsman, the ultimate end result is the best product you can possibly produce. And sometimes we got to take the loss for that. If it takes extra time, and
Right.
we bid it a certain way and we thought it was going to go a certain way, and then you have a drastic choice to make. You have to say, well, I'm like that. Well, when I see a project and I'm just like, something didn't work out right, and some cut maybe even set, and I'm like, he'll probably get away with it. I'm like, no, crap, we got to pull that out. We got to pull it out. We got to do it. And I think that's the spirit of a craftsman, is just, not is having that standard in your own self, the standard where you put the highest standard out, and I mean, my tile company, I named Pinnacle because it's literally, it means the highest point of development or achievement by definition, and
Right.
I say that because and when I see that, that's the standard I'm shooting for, the highest point of development or achievement.
Right.
And when I'm training these young guys, I go, hey, that's not Pinnacle, bro. That's not Pinnacle. We got to be Pinnacle. You got to up your game. You got to up your game.
Stuff. Yeah. And that's a time-tested eye. There's stuff that you know as well as I do. You'll get some real go-getter that wants to start setting.
Yeah.
Well, you can't let them on their own yet because they don't have a definitive understanding of where the mistakes are going to jump out. And once you're by it, man, you don't want to take a hammer to your stuff. You got to keep that under control as you go. Floors, I'm taking, for instance, you know. You got to stay online. You got to keep the lippage down or non-existent at all would be best.
Yeah, for real.
And beginners get caught up in producing. Now, man, you better keep in the forefront of your brain talent and quality.
Quality over quantity. That's the important thing, you know.
Yeah, because you start doing the dollar sign stuff, you're just going to you'll learn your bad habits. You probably won't even want to do hard jobs. Yeah. Because first you won't know how to bid them.
Yeah.
I mean, so I guess it's just stepping stones will get you to see if. And the other thing is, man, our trade is brutal. It's a tough trade. There's not a lot of trades out there that can humble you physically like a tile trade.
Yeah, it's definitely not for the weak, my man.
No.
Definitely not for the weak. But you know, and in that sense, you know, what I'm trying to focus on is trying to get this next generation to see the value of the trade, because it's definitely not for the weak. It's definitely, you know, not for someone who doesn't want to put in the work. But the rewards are great, and you can make a great living out of it. You can make a lot of money. And to the point where once you're an advanced installer, you can start your own company, and you know, and then there you go. So there's a lot of potential in the trade. My biggest, you know, challenge is just trying to give it as an option to this next generation, which, like you mentioned, the very beginning of the podcast, it wasn't something that was offered like college. Everyone talks, you know, colleges. There's no options. You know, you go to a high school. There's no option to, you know, well, you can do trade school. No, there's just like, you want to go to college or you want to fail.
No. And, you know, you're touching on another thing, which, you know, you don't have to be an Einstein to be a good craftsman. You know, the gray matter up top, you know, if you were good with Lincoln logs on your knees as a boy, or an erector set or whatever you had talent in building, that's all that's necessary. There's not going to be a algebra test in tile. There's a lot of geometry, but it's more practical geometry instead of academia geometry.
Yeah, true.
And so you know, if you find your hands, you're good with your hands. I think that's a real indication early in life. Dude, I was changing my mom's Dodge is like a 1968 Dodge 318 when I was 7 years old. I was changing the points in her motor.
Wow.
And that was my grandpa teaching me how to do stuff. And so once you enjoy working with your hands, this could be a trade for you. So it's a good indicator. Like, I don't know, if you even whittle, if you like shooting guns, anything that is precision, stuff like that. It can
hands-on.
Right. Not video games.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man. I gotta break that down. I'm not seeing an advantageous mindset.
He's trying to call me out because I like to play Call of Duty. But man, I think that's cool, man. I agree with you 100%. And if I were to have any closing statements for the people listening to get a real spirit of a craftsman, I think it starts with just the standards you have for yourself. You know, you have to have a high standard. And it's got to come from within, you know, to want to know that you're putting your name on this job. you're putting your whole reputation on this job. And we know in the industry that there's two kinds of reputations that'll go around. You can get a reputation for being a hack, which will end your career very fast. Or guys like us, we never advertise because our reputation, brings the work to us because that's what we're known for. It's what we're known for. And that comes from just knowing that when every job I do, you got to treat it like it's the whole world's going to judge that job,
Well, it's funny. When you get to our level, there's not a move we make that isn't sweet. There is no compromise on quality at our level. We just won't do it. It just it doesn't feel right. We won't sleep. So it's got to be pushed out, sweet,
100%,
square plumb level and square plumb level and flat. If otherwise, it's not. We're not hanging our hat on it. We're not proud.
That's
pride
true.
Pride is what develops eventually.
Yes. It's a good trait, I believe, in this industry, to take pride in your work and take pride in what you do.
Yeah, because as you said early on, the creativity is endless. I mean, we never do the same job.
No.
It's and the multitude of mediums out there, glass, mosaic, real mosaics with the pictures and stuff, and porcelain and large module floor tiles, stone. It's just crazy. The endless array of learning, and it all has to be well bonded, square plumb and level.
Yep, and the best layout possible, which sometimes alone can take a couple hours. When you're laying out different things, that's a whole nother beast.
And then they start throwing in the decorative stuff on you. Come on, man, let me do it.
Yeah. The challenge is awesome, but that's what we live for. That's what we love. Well, Ron, we're going to wrap this one up today. So, but we definitely want to have you back on the podcast because I enjoyed having you on here, and we just barely touched the tip of the iceberg in all the stuff we could talk about and share about the industry. Right. So I definitely look forward to having you back on to talk about more things like that, talk about training, because we got to raise up this next generation. There's a whole group of young men that are eager to learn this trade, and we're going to do the best. I want to pass our knowledge on to them and let them take this experience and knowledge and pass it on to their next generation.
Learn to do it in mud.
Yeah, that's it. Hey, that's a closing statement, man. That's going to be the quote. Ronnie Tompkins, learn to do it in mud. Well, all right, guys. Well, we hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you enjoyed Ronnie Tompkins, please let us know in the comments and let us know some other topics you would love to have us share and some of our other guests we're going to have on the podcast. And until next time, guys, make sure you subscribe because this is, as of now, a monthly podcast. So we want to make sure that you don't miss an episode. So make sure you subscribe to that. We'll see you guys next time on Talking Tile Podcast.
Right on, buddy.